A change was made, and just like that, the temperature in the room shifted. Reporters leaned forward, cameras clicked, and every eye locked on Shadur Sanders. The question hung heavy in the air. How did he feel about Dylan Gabriel being named the starter? Everyone expected a reaction: anger, defiance, maybe even a confident smirk. But instead, Shedeur did something no one saw coming. He said nothing. Not a word. For 40 seconds, the world waited, and Shedeur met every camera lens with silence. No expression, no sound, no emotion. Just a stare that spoke louder than any statement ever could. That moment broke the internet. In an age where every athlete feels the pressure to clap back, post, or defend themselves, Shedeur's decision to stay silent became the most controversial move he could have made. Fans debated whether it was power or pride. Was he rising above the noise or proving his critics right? By choosing not to speak, Shedeur seemed to send a message. He wasn't going to let his words be twisted anymore. But as expected, the silence didn't end the conversation. It fueled it. Nick Wright was among the first to pounce. He didn't mince words. "I hate that commentary," he said. "This works against him and his dad, who everybody loves." Wright argued that the silence wasn't discipline. It was a mistake. In his eyes, Shedeur was only making things worse, alienating the media and potentially the fans who once adored him. He warned that this wasn't a power move. It was a PR disaster in slow motion. "He's digging himself into a deeper hole," Wright said, his tone sharp. "If he's not careful, this will blow up in his face." Dan Orlovsky took a similar stance, but framed it through the lens of experience. To him, those 40 seconds weren't powerful, they were immature. "At that position," Orlovsky said, "everything you do and say is a job interview. Every moment, every answer, every silence, it all matters." His voice carried the tone of a mentor trying to steer a talented young player away from self-inflicted wounds. While he might not be an immature person, Orlovsky said, that was an immature moment. He argued that no matter where you stand on the depth chart, the NFL judges you constantly. And a silent protest, no matter how symbolic, doesn't help your standing with coaches or teammates. Stephen A. Smith took a softer, more measured approach. He didn't scold or shame Shadur. Instead, he spoke like someone who's seen this story play out before. "Shadur Sanders has to understand that every little thing he does is under a microscope," he said, "because of who your dad is." That sentence alone captured the essence of Shadeur's dilemma. He isn't just any quarterback. He's Deion Sanders' son, living in a shadow that's both a blessing and a curse. Every facial expression, every comment, every silence carries double the weight because of his name. Stephen A. didn't condemn the silence, but reminded Shedeur that in his position, perception is everything. "You can't afford to forget the camera's always rolling." Ryan Clark took the conversation in a different direction. He didn't see Shedeur's silence as immaturity or arrogance. He saw exhaustion. "After dealing with so much pressure," Clark said, "it's only human to react this way." To him, the silence wasn't rebellion. It was defense. Clark sympathized with the reality of a young man who's been picked apart by the media since day one. But even with empathy, he offered a warning. "You've got to stay aware. Everything you do has impact. Stay focused on what matters, and don't let frustration become the story." And that's the heart of it. Shedeur's story has never been about a lack of confidence. In fact, his confidence might be the very thing people can't handle. When he recently said he believes he's better than some NFL quarterbacks, it lit up the sports world. Critics called him cocky and delusional, but others saw the remark as nothing more than a competitor's mindset. After all, what quarterback doesn't believe he's the best on the field? But when you're Shadur Sanders, confidence gets labeled arrogance faster than you can blink. The backlash was instant. Headlines screamed about ego and entitlement. The same analysts who praised quarterbacks like Joe Burrow for swagger tore Shedeur apart for showing the same self-belief. And maybe that's what Ryan Clark meant. The deck is stacked differently for him. Because when your father is Deion Sanders, your bravado isn't just personality, it's a storyline. Then came Cam Newton. If anyone understands media pressure, it's him. And when Cam spoke up, he made it clear, what's happening to Shedeur isn't normal. "He's being unfairly treated," Newton said. He's not wrong for questioning it. He pointed out something that most people missed. Shadur is the first fifth round, third-string quarterback in NFL history to have this much fan support and national attention. Millions of fans root for him, not just because of his name, but because of how he carries himself. But that kind of attention can be a double-edged sword. Newton explained that the more support Shedeur gets, the more uncomfortable the establishment becomes. They're not used to this, he said. They're not used to seeing this kind of backing for a player in his position. And that might be the real story. Shadeur's popularity isn't the problem, it's the disruption. He's rewriting the playbook on what it means to be a young quarterback in today's NFL. He's not staying quiet, not playing the role people expect. That's why, no matter what he does, whether he talks or stays silent, it's always criticized. Cam Newton summed it up perfectly. When Shadur does anything, it's always critique. As the weeks go on, it's becoming clear that this isn't just a football story. It's a story about image, expectation, and legacy. Shadur Sanders is learning in real time that being yourself in a world that constantly wants to shape you is the hardest game of all. He's young, confident, and unapologetic. And that makes people uncomfortable. The silence, the headlines, the debates, they're all part of the growing pains of a player trying to define himself on his own terms. He's surrounded by noise but choosing not to add to it. Maybe it's strategic, maybe it's emotional, or maybe it's just human. But one thing's certain, he's not afraid of the moment. Cam Newton's words echo a truth that cuts deeper than the criticism. It's not even about before we get to the point. We have to understand what the reality is. And the reality is that every move Shadur makes will be analyzed, twisted, and debated. But if he can withstand that storm, if he can keep playing his game and stay grounded through it all, this pressure might not break him. It might build him. Shadur's journey is far from over. The silence that once divided fans could one day be seen as the turning point where he stopped letting others define him. But for now, he remains the most talked about third-string quarterback in football, balancing fame, expectation, and family legacy in a way no one else can understand. So, what do you think? Is Shadur Sanders handling the pressure the right way, or is his silence doing more harm than good? Are the critics being fair, or is the media creating a story that doesn't exist? Should he fight back against the noise or let his actions on the field do the talking? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this one.